If you talk about one of the dominant themes that will be discussed at the World Economic Forum annual meeting here in Davos, clearly transparency in business is one of them, and that's exactly something we're trying to address here in our very own special panel discussion. Let me introduce the If you talk about one of the dominant themes that will be discussed at the World Economic Forum annual meeting here in Davos, clearly transparency in business is one of them, and that's exactly something we're trying to address here in our very own special panel discussion. Let me introduce the special guests on the show today. We've got Cobus De Swardt, Managing Director of Transparency International with us, Professor Mark Peith, Chairman of the OECD Working Group on Bribery, and Peter Lacey, MD Sustainable Services APAC of Accenture. Many thanks all of you for being with us. Let me start by asking you, Mr. Swardt, why is it that transparency has come to occupy such an important position when we talk about conversations here in Davos?
Well, for three reasons. One's because of its devastating effects on communities and countries the world over.
Right.
Secondly, because it's so bad for business, and nobody in business want to really engage in corruption if they've got a medium to long-term perspective. It's unsustainable. And thirdly, because if you tackle corruption effectively, efficiently, and with vigor in business, in government, then you can actually reap massive rewards for your company, for your country, and for the wider community.
Professor Peith, corruption is a huge issue even in India. If I were to take forward what Mr. Swardt is saying, is he basically trying to say that businesses have no choice but to be corrupt given the systems? Is that a safe analysis of what he's saying?
No, I would totally disagree. I think businesses have a choice, and
right.
In fact what we need to do is encourage business to take a much more proactive stance. I'm very happy with what is happening here finally, I must say, in Davos. For me it's the 8th time I'm in Davos.
So you're a veteran here.
Yes, and
Right.
for 23 years I've been an international regulator, and it's been real uphill work to convince people to finally do something. And for me it's an achievement that no longer just governments are trying to do this, but business has understood it's good for themselves if they take a more active role.
But what's stopping businesses from becoming more transparent? Is it really the systems in different countries that just don't allow them to move forward on the whole transparency path? And do you think corruption is a bit too well entrenched in a few countries like India that it's not so easy to get out of that system?
Well, look, I think that's a good question. The real issue for businesses who are trying to drive corruption out of their value chains, out of their businesses, is how to partner effectively with governments, policymakers, and I think also how to create transparency in their value chains. So, for example, if you look at some of the pioneering work that's been done, and I know that you've both been involved in different projects along these lines, like the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, that allows you to trace payments through a value chain.
Right.
Around natural resources, and actually to find new and innovative ways to create that transparency, increasingly using digital technology, empowering people. That's what really matters, and I think the fact that it's such a prominent theme here this week around the WEF theme of resilient dynamism and sustainable growth is good to see.
So share with us some of those path-breaking initiatives that are taking place in this area, because we all talk about better transparency, less corruption, but how do you actually put it in place?
Well, I think if you asked that same question 5 years ago, many people would have given you technical answers.
Okay.
The great thing about the world today is that most people around the world realize that much greater public accountability across all spheres are actually the key driver. The Arab Spring so clearly showed that ordinary people care massively. In your country, India, people have risen up and said, we've had enough. We demand this accountability. And that's why it is not actually technical solutions only. They are part of the the solution. Laws are part of the solution. But the greatest game changer is to give ordinary citizens the ability to demand accountability.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for Retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.